Hey, Liz Waddington comes to us today from McHenry, Illinois, where she lives, gardens, and paints. Florals are her specialty, you might have noticed, looking around here. And this is amazing to me. She has grown every flower that she's painted.
Oh,
I know. And she's developed a really interesting technique of layering to make her paintings kind of like a relief sculpture, almost a little bit 3D. Liz's studio is tucked in the corner of her hand-dug basement, and its whitewashed rubble stone walls make her think she's in a French wine cellar. I know she sees her washer and dryer over there. Liz does a lot of exhibiting. If I counted correctly, Liz, you did 17 weekend shows in 2022. And that is in Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Tennessee, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Bless you. That's amazing. Anyway, we look forward to hearing about your future shows as well. You can see more of Liz's work on her website, which is ewaddington1.wixsite.com, or you can just Google Elizabeth Waddington Artist. Let's give a warm guild welcome to
probably a few more than 17 because there's not everything makes it onto the website because I have to like strong arm my kids to help me update that baby. And I'm going to go to Utah this year. I got my 2 boys live out there in their little town called St. George, and it's adorable. I'm going to do art show. But anyway, so I was told to give a little bit of talk about what got me into art and what my motivations are. And you know, like all of you, we probably were the kids that doodled and just drew and couldn't wait for Friday art class when the teacher would roll that cart down the hallway. And so that was always the highlight of my week. And when I was in 4th grade, we moved to Illinois. So I was kind of like the new kid in class. So I just started drawing stuff, you know, because of some way to meet people. So pretty soon there was a competition, like who's the best drawer in class. And so it came down to me and this one little boy who did beautiful Japanese pagodas and cherry trees, and it was amazing. And but I drew a better horse, so I won. So the thing is, you got to know your audience. Yeah, the competition. So I just found my way to be an art major because I really didn't like math, that's for sure. And I, you know, but so I went to the U of I majored in art. I took all sorts of different art classes. If there was ever a choice between acrylic and watercolor, I took acrylic because I always thought watercolor was a little difficult. I mean, I tried it, and if you overwork it, you know, you turn it into mud and you get holes in your painting. So I took just a whole bunch. I tried a little bit of graphics, tried a little bit of industrial design, and finally by like after year 5.5, I went to the guidance counselor and she's like, you know, we can get a degree out of here somewhere. So they found something. And so after graduation, I was like, what the heck am I going to do? So I ended up working at Crate and Barrel just because I liked shopping there. And became a trainee for a store designer. They did all the merchandising and the windows and displays in the store. And then after about 6 months, I got my own store, Hawthorne, but that doesn't exist anymore. But it was a really wonderful experience. It gave me the kind of a marketing background, which I use now in my art shows. You're watching customers all the time. You're seeing, can they reach this? Is this difficult? Do they understand that? So that was kind of a good background to, you know, grow up with. And I also was thinking more 3-dimensional, which I've never really been good at sculpting because there's like, oh yeah, the backside. I got to do something there too. So then after I worked at Crate and Barrel throughout the 80s. And then I got married and moved to Rhode Island and had 4 children, and then no time for your own creativity because your hands are busy all the time doing feeding, changing, cooking, something. So as they got a little older and were in school, then I was like, book projects, ooh, dioramas, what are we gonna do? You know, I was like, okay, I'm getting a little too into this, my kids' stuff that they're supposed to do. So eventually moved back to Illinois with my children, and now they're getting a little older, and they're like, Mom, I'm doing my own project. So I thought I gotta figure out something to do. I was reading the newspaper one morning, and there was an article in there about an adult continuing education class at McHenry County College, watercolor. And it sounded interesting. I'm like, oh, I took that back of my head there. And later that afternoon, a friend called me up and she's like, there's a charity function I want to go to tonight. Will you come with me? I'm like, it's the freezingest January out there. So no, I don't want to leave the house tonight. She's like, oh, please, I'll pick you up. So I'm thinking in my head, like, she just wants to wear her fur coat. So anyway, I went with her. She did in fact wear her fur coat, and so we're at a big table, and I started chatting with the lady next to me. And when you know, she's the teacher of that watercolor class. Oh. Isn't that weird? Her name was Diane, and she goes, there's one spot left. I'm like, okay. So I signed up the next day, and it was a pretty good sized class. The same ladies and gentlemen had been taking this class for years. So it's more like a club, you know, an informal Saturday morning art club. And we all worked at our own pace. So there was no like, oh, here's a bowl of fruit and we all have to paint it. So it was kind of cool. You got, you know, a little private instruction, but plenty of time to just explore on your own. And one day my teacher, her name was Diane, said, let's get a piece of glass out, take some paint and just blob it on the glass, then wet your paper and turn that glass over on it and smash it on and see what happens. And I was, oh, that sounds like fun. So the first time I did it, pulled that glass off and I saw pansies in there. So, so from then on, I was always kind of intrigued by that. And, you know, I'd already done my little traditional painting of my kids and my pets, my house. So I was like, I'm just digging this. So why make myself paint a subject that I'm not interested in when I really want to do this? So a monster was born. So this is what I'm going to show you. This is a very easy way to start. And you know what? It's fun for just playtime. You can do it with your grandkids. You can, you know, you got some tube paint hanging around. I like to use 300-pound watercolor paper because it's nice and it's durable, and I can work very, very wet, and it has a nice dimension after I cut it out. So, and then afterwards is always like, okay, put the right cover back on the right tube, which they never are, but I mix all my paint up anyway. Yeah, sometimes I stick my brush right in the tube, all sorts of very naughty things. I know. Well, you know, if they mix up these colors, all kind of, I spend most of my time going like this anyway. So they're all multicolor on the inside. There's various blues and greens. What I'm going to do is this, we'll start passing little forget-me-nots, because you don't need to do purposeful applying of the painting.
Sure, wait,
I'm sorry.
I'm showing it to the people.
I'm very bad.
See, there you go.
And it's just all different gorgeous shades of blues and greens and aquamarines, and folks dig blue, I can tell you that. So this is you don't have to be as purposeful with the paint. Like if I'm making the coleus and things, I have to, okay, here's the orange leaves, and I have to plan for some little purple on the inside, or the ones where that have some white in there. I use a lot of the masking solution. You can tell this bottle's been used a lot. I like the finer gauge needle. And so this is what I kind of start all my paintings with. This gives it the framework. It kind of, I used to paint a little more looser and flowy, and now I've kind of tightened it up a little bit, which I don't know. Your work always evolves, right? I mean, it's never static. So I like the removable Winsor Newton, pretty good price. Okay, so I have put all my masking solution on here in just a series of little 5-petaled flowers. And I have 2 of them prepared because you use a lot of paint. Daniel Smith is my brand. And Daniel Smith should give me a kickback because I use a lot of it and I talk about it all the time. Plus, when I'm at shows, I always paint in my tent because I can't just sit there. And yeah, matter of fact, most of these are started at art shows. I finish them up at home. So I'm just putting all this gorgeous paint on, trying to remember what I had on already. Oh, some of these guys are coming out already.
White underneath the glass so you can see where the necks are going.
Okay. Oh, I see what you mean. That's a good idea.
There you go.
Okay. I got some spilled on here. It's hardly a, this is kind of a big mess right here. Like I say, this is just to get you started for fun. And they're all gonna mix together. The only thing that you gotta remember, mixing purples and some of the greens, you get a little olive-ish to it, which is, oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You keep on going.
So I try to keep them a little bit separate, mix a little darker ones and some lighter ones. And cobalt blue violet. I love this color. That's the color of those hydrangeas over there. It's like a little pink and blue at the same time. That's why I love Daniel Smith so much. There's so many different, it granulates in a beautiful way. Here's my, can't read it anyway, it's my chicken scratch, but this is my floor plan. I would be lost without this. So let's see, what's I like the duochromes and the iridescent paints. And French ultramarine. Should I be using this one already? Yes. Okay, that's probably enough on there. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to wet. I have a pan of water off to the side here. I'm going to soak it good, both sides. Then just smoosh it on there. You got to make sure you get some good contact because your little latex line has a dimension to it, so it kind of raises the paper off. So you give it some good smacking. I have a brayer I can use. Double check it. You can even go like, yeah. I wouldn't do that to the ones that are a little more defined, but this is just a whole bunch of beautiful colors. Looks like a hot mess at the beginning. So I'm just gonna let that kind of chill for just a minute, and I'm gonna use up the rest of this paper here. Try not to be a paint waster. Then there's always going to be some left on my glass. In this case, I'm using plexi. I use glass and I make sure, because I have 1,000 frames at home that are broken, so I have plenty of glass. But plexi is actually a little safer when you're on the road. So this one's a little more diffuse. You can just, you can make up your own rules here. So I might even try this.
Oh.
All right. Okay. So this I'll save and let it dry, and then I'll turn it into a background. So here's a background. Here is some of them after they've been detailed and not cut out yet. And I use my little scissors. Where did I not bring those? I use a little orange Fiskars. And here's some that are.
Oh, that's a lot of
Gotta be
cutting.
very sharp.
They're very sharp. Yeah. Where's my little orange guys? It's the little teeny tiny orange Fiskars. The sewing ladies hide all the good scissors. That's where you're gonna find them. It's the little sibling to this big one. What I'll do is I'll cut them all into strips and then square them off, and then with my little nips, nip. Once it's dry, I rub the masking solution off. We'll set that to the side, and these guys can kind of.
When you outline your water
Uh-huh.
flowers, do you use a marker or do you use paint?
Sometimes I use paint when I'm in a hurry. I'll use my Arteza markers. They're actually a brush pen.
Okay.
And where's the piece of paper? they have a really nice, it's a real deal brush, so you can get a thick line and a thinner line. And they also accept water well. And you can use a blending stump, kind of move them around a little bit. And here, I'll send this around. Where's the one? Send this around with a piece of paper and you can check it out. I also like the Zig too. Arteza, I get online. The Zig, I can get, they're the Kuretake. I get these in an art store. Crystal Lake Repro Graphics. So, like I say, when I'm doing something a little more organized, like
Little white lines that.
I leave the white. I leave the white paper. Rather, a lot of times what I'll do is, in the case of these guys here, I'll add a little, these are my little succulents that I've been working on. So these are a little more, they're very detailed, and I only do them once a year because they're difficult. I pull off the masking solution and I'll do pale color to kind of define the edge, or in the case of a delicate flower, like light pass, like a poppy, like light passing through the edge of the petal. And so this is leftover paint from making those succulents, and this is a background then that I'm gonna, and then frame it up like that over there. In the wintertime, getting ready for art shows for the summer, I'll make multiples of, I hope to get 7 or 8 of these paintings. Because like I say, I only make them once a year.
Is the white around these flowers a marker too?
No, that's the paper. I pull the masking solution off and it stays white. This stuff works great even when I wet the heck out of it. Yeah. So now this is kind of mellowed for a little bit. I'm gonna grab a brush. Where's the good brush? And this one's a little pale here, so I'm gonna add a little more color. Let's pick out some colors. Let's see, what else we got here? Let's cobalt blue violet. Yeah. And the cactus succulent guys, those I didn't leave any of the white, a little bit of the white, but mainly that's what when the edges are colored like that.
And these are all the 300.
Yeah, 300 pound cold press. Yeah, I get my paper from Cheap Joe's or Jerry's. I'm so bad here. Sorry, people online. Cheap Joe's or Jerry's Artorama. I like the Kilimanjaro white or the Fabriano, works fine for me. I don't need to, I cut a lot of it apart. So doing the arches is just kind of a waste, and I don't notice the difference in quality in my work. So these guys, and the beauty part about watercolor is it'll wait for you. These guys will be there fine tomorrow when I can enliven them back up again and do more things. So, and then I also like to mix other medium with the watercolor. And one thing I really enjoy using is bleeding art tissue. So this is the bleeding art tissue, and these are all the different colors it comes in. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, please remind me.
That's all right. No, no problem.
That's made by Spectra. You can get it on Amazon or Blick.
Bleeding art tissue.
Bleeding art tissue, and it comes in all these awesome colors. They're a little Barbie doll aisle bright sometimes.
So, when you say bleeding art or tissue,
Mhm.
does that mean the tissue is not used in the art, but the? color
Just the
from it?
pigment. Yeah.
So how do you get that?
Yeah. Let's dive right into that first. So let's see. I have some poppy. I like to make poppies with them. So here is, I put my masking solution on, and I kind of masked out the centers because there's going to be black anyway, so I don't really need any color in there necessarily. So and they're just a bunch of roughly pretty shapes. So then I have my little bowl of water here. I put a little iridescent medium in it. Matter of fact, I usually just let it dry out in here. Because I like a little secret sparkle in the water. So I grab a bunch of these tissues. Now I've gathered your hands will be stained for days. Various oranges and reds and magenta. And then you just wet them and lay them down. It's messy. Kids love it.
What is iridescent medium?
It's I thought I brought that with me too. It's just it's made by I buy it from Winsor Newton also, and it just looks like glitter water.
Yeah.
And so I just pour a little bit in here. Yeah, you can paint it over. I just put it in the water. Just and so then I just take all my little smoosh them on. Yeah, so I did some the other day. I would let them dry overnight.
Your copies are being passed. They were under this.
Oh, they are? They have the tissue on them? Oh, okay, so
Yeah, I
take the
wonder.
tissue. Feel free, take some tissue off and you can put the used tissue in the bag. So then you'll see what it's like underneath. Because that's kind of the unveiling. That's the fun part. Yeah, for the camera. Sorry, at home people. Yeah, just take it off. Yeah, you just take it off and you get all these cool different colors underneath. Yeah.
Now you take that.
Then I will take that off, but before I take the resist off, I'm going to go in with a little bit of watercolor and maybe darken the bottom. Darken the bottom and, you know, just add another layer of color. Because that's what I love about watercolor is just all the different layers you can get and pulling color through another color.
Liz, can you back up to your skinny little masking
Yeah.
thing and tell us what that is? Because I've had a lot of trouble with many brands.
Yeah, well, it clogs all the time. So you just have to accept its clogged nature. I take a piece of picture wire and I kind of fray it and dig it around in there. And I've got tweezers and like a darning needle that's pretty thick. I think it was this fine line. It was fine line and I refill it.
I refill with the Winsor.
Yeah.
I do the same.
But
But it gets clogged so easy.
it clogs all the time.
Yeah.
If you use it and then put it down and go back the next day, it's going to be clogged.
Yeah.
Just be prepared for that. If I do it all at once, then it doesn't clog while I'm using it. But now, do you use the wax or the latex one? Because the latex, I think, would resist the water. Oh, I never tried the hot water on it.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, so this is just like, this is giving me the color. What's going to happen is overnight, the dry paper, because I put the wet tissue on dry paper and it sucks the pigment out. And then the pigment tends to kind of flow to the edge of the line. I think this bleeding art tissue, one of my favorite things to do, and I wish I had an example, it's in Bartlett in a gallery, that I was like, I'm not doing that anymore because I like to have my paintings around me all the time, is tropical leaves, because you can get a big area of color without, you know, brushy, you know, you can just put it down. And if you go on I have my cards here, my website and Facebook, I can do Facebook all by myself. So that's really more up to date. If you scroll back, you can see the big tropical leaves. And I mean, the cool part about collage is you can work much larger than your paper. So I love doing huge, as long as I can carry it, I'll make it that big. So the tropicals are kind of life-size banana leaves and monstera and pothos and the palmettos.
Can I ask a
Mhm.
question about this? The
Yeah.
Paper squeezers, is the yellow what you, where you masked?
Yeah.
When you added,
Yeah, you can, you can remove a little bit with your thumb if you want to give that
yeah,
a
and,
shot.
oh, so this is gonna be,
It'll-
what your mask is yellow.
Yeah, I do the colored one so I can
And
see
then
where it
you
is.
Scrape it off.
Then I just rub it
Oh,
right off. I
okay.
have a rubber cement pickup that I use for, to try to be tidier rather than rubbing it with my hands.
How did you do the sparkling?
It's the iridescent medium that's in my water. After I'm done, you guys can come up here and try anything and look at my water and just generally, especially when we get to the next brush show, you will like that one. I know, it's right here. This is coming up next, brush show. Stay tuned. That's a tease.
That's the best.
I love brushing. It's so much fun. This is all just fun. It's
How did you have it on the
tissue. You know what? Reading art catalogs like Jerry's Artorama and Cheap Joe's, I had no idea that this stuff even existed really. And then I noticed it was water-based. So anything water-based is in my wheelhouse. And yeah, so I just bought it and experimented with it, for the most part. The best way I think to learn is just to do it and make your own mistakes and come up with your own solutions and little victories, rather than that way you don't have any preconceived notions. See, the thing is, you guys are all like trained painters that are just like way better than me. Seriously. I never really had instruction. I just kind of did whatever I kind of liked. And I don't follow the rules. Kind of, I cut my work up and
That's just a quick question.
Uh-huh.
Is that gonna stain the floor, their floor?
is it? Oh,
Not if I get it up right away.
no,
Okay.
this is pretty good.
I
Yeah,
just don't want it to
cool. I
stain.
hear you.
Yeah.
Crash the joint and then leave. Okay, so that is a messy thing. I'm gonna move that out of the way. So, okay,
When you do the tissue, do you usually do a one color hue?
I layer them. Like this was a study for the tropical leaves. This is putting together a few different colors. I also love to do fall leaves. This was kind of a study for that where,
Just show that.
oh, I'm sorry. You layer the colors and they do some great combinations, especially if you add black or brown to them. It kind of makes them a little more mature, not so magenta. Oh, and what I forgot to do with this, sometimes I'll take a little of this brush, which I'll get into in a little bit, and I'll put this on and then put the tissue over. This is just another layer of color, but I was supposed to put that on dry.
What is this?
This is the brush. Okay, so let's move on to brush then. Let's move on to brush. Oh, another helpful thing to do with the tissue is to make sure you have good contact. Because it's funny how it looks like a big wet mess, but there's some white under here still. So you try to get good contact. So I just kind of weight it with this over there. Okay, try to keep the red off the blue. So next up, I'm gonna do a little work with some brushing. These are the colors that I have. And they're like little powdery watercolor crystals. If I open it up, it looks like powder. It's made by Color Craft. It's from England. You can get it online, Jerry's Artorama or Cheap Joe's. I keep saying to Blick, will you carry this in your store? But nobody listens to me. You can get it on Amazon too. This, here, I'll pass this around. This, I'm gonna need the brown then. I will give you Prussian blue.
It's called what again?
Brush show.
Brush show?
Yeah, I'll leave it up. You guys can take pictures of it and things.
Prussian brush.
Yeah, and each color is made up of all different colors. Like the purple has quite a bit of orange in it. Emerald's one of my favorite colors. The dark brown is just delicious with blue and brown and orange. And you can either dissolve it in a little dish of water and turn it into a paint, or you can put it on a wet surface and it's these fireworks of color. And it's kind of nice to use them both ways, as a paint and then as like little explosions.
Almost like an instant copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can pass that around. And then if you go on YouTube, there's a whole bunch of informative tutorials on using the brush show, and a lot of them are British because it's made in England. They have the cutest little accents. Brush show. Callie Lawson is one of the ladies who does these things, and she had this one little craft on there where you can either use a leaf from your yard or one from Hobby Lobby and then trace them. You trace them, and now I trace them with the Inktense colored pencil, the watercolor pencil. Why use pencil when you can use a paint? So I am going to now paint the outline. Maybe this.
Are you using 300-pound paper again?
Yes, this is, I only use 140 for backgrounds and bookmarks. And sometimes if I have a ton of paint left over, I'll put it on 140 and I'll kind of make a flower out of that one too, but it'll be a background one because it'll be flatter than the 300-pound. So now I've outlined my leaves here, and I'm just going to kind of fill the color in. Fill it in with some water. I love these Inktense pencils.
You just using the color from the pencil?
Yeah, this is just from the pencil here. You can also go over with a little watercolor too. This is coral. This is my Hint water bottle caps. Very professional. But they work, and I can keep them in my Chinese takeout container. Yeah. It's like whatever works.
Those watercolors that you're using in the caps are.
This is Daniel Smith too. Yeah. Yeah.
And they stay liquidy enough so you can.
No, they're dry, but I just put a wet brush in them and enliven them again. So, okay, so I've got some color here. I'm probably going to add a little more later, but what we're going to do now, I'm going to take my dark brown. Where did I leave dark brown? Get them out.
So that Chinese takeout container is really your palette.
In a way, it holds your caps.
Right?
Yeah, my palette is all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got my floor plan here. You know, I figure out what am I going to use today? I'm going to mix. Dan Smith has so many awesome colors. He does the mix them for me. Like they mix on the paper, you know, and I don't feel the need to control them so much. I kind of like the random nature, and I keep telling my paint here, you are expensive. You work for me. So it does a lot of that stuff already. Yeah, so okay, now I'm going to take this dark brown brush and kind of give it that kind of mottled fall leaf look a little bit. Yeah, you just pop a little hole in it with a nail or a thumbtack or something. Because I mean, every grain is very powerful. And as a matter of fact, if you are working on your main work surface, put a piece of paper down and then play with this and then roll it up, because I've wrecked a mat or two in my day from there'd be like a stray red crystal on it. So then you can take your little brush, you can start pulling some veins out. And yeah, so there's going to be many layers of color that you also put on there. Here's one kind of halfway through, some oak leaves and little locust leaves.
Tilt it up. Oh, you're gonna say.
I'm gonna pass. Then here's one that's pretty much all detailed like. I haven't cut it out yet. And what's kind of cool, since we're just going over the top here, is I take a toothbrush with some iridescent gold paint. Give it a little shot of that.
Is that powder or?
That's just my Daniel Smith. I take a toothbrush, I wet it, stuck that on there. And so this, I might add a little more color to this here. Let's throw some new gamboge in there. New gamboge. I mean, any kind of fall color is kind of fair game. Oh, I know. I love, yeah, it's like, I love shopping at art stores. You find all sorts of stuff. I used to mess around with rice paper and fun things like that. You can kind of crinkle them up, and then I do my monoprint over that, and it goes in the nooks and valleys there. So this is,
Elizabeth,
yes,
is this the brush?
that's the brush show. It comes, I have 24 colors. It comes in 36, and some of them are very repetitive kind of. So it's like 24 is enough. So this is one altogether, kind of framed up. You just kind of go nuts with the colors, all those beautiful fall colors. This is a print of a larger painting thing, collage that I've done. I can do all sorts of stuff with this. I like the Michael sells a frame that's burlap. It's like a burlap collage frame. You're supposed to poke pictures of your family in there, but I put my leaves in that. It's very pretty and fallish. And what the cool thing with those leaves, they can hang vertically or horizontally. It doesn't matter because they're not, you know,
Color
there's
come
pile
off of
of
your
leaves.
hand.
Eventually. Usually if you wash your hair, it comes out. It's not hair's red now. But yeah, no, I think a sign of a good artist is a brave artist is messy hands. Messy hands. I don't know. Somebody brought up the fact, is that dangerous for you? I'm like, I don't know. I hope not. I really hope not.
Too late now.
Too late now. Yeah, so
Do you design your paintings like before you cut stuff out, or do you while you're?
well, I have a painting in mind. I usually have a flower in mind. In the winter, I can paint more complex things. In the summer, when I'm in my tent, it's gotta be pretty simple, like daisies, cone flowers, hydrangea are pretty easy. It is. Blue balls of beautifulness. Here's one that it's like the sister painting to that one. That's like midway. I've taken the the masking solution off.
Yeah.
And oh, sorry. And then these are all, yeah, all sorts of awesome. This is the cobalt blue violet and a little bit of wisteria, I think it's called, the pink. And then so then what I'll do is add a little pale color to the edges of the hydrangea. And then these Tombow markers are kind of, these are a felt stump, but they're also water-based. And they're kind of good for getting in little spots in between things. And they come real pale too. That's what I love. So you can kind of give it a little highlight there.
That's the name of them?
Tombow. Yeah, you get these at Michael's has them. And also, when I cut my things out, I put color to the cut edge that makes them look more in the round. So that's what I use these guys for. Like I always, you know, a complementary color like the leaves would be an orange or something. But you have to, yeah, it just, the only one I don't do it to are the little forget-me-nots because they're too small. And the white edge is just another design element.
You use that on something you're gonna enter in a strictly watercolor show?
No, because I don't enter in, I sell.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is how I've quit all my crappy jobs and this is what I do for a living. And I know it's not kosher, I don't
Okay.
think.
I just wondered.
And it's not,
For getting you into the show with Dixon, not Dixon,
where?
Norris?
Norris.
Norris. Oh, I sold a iris there. That was cool. But I asked them first. I'm like, okay, this is what I do.
Yeah.
I cut it up. You know, it's all water based, but I alter it in that. And they're like, oh, that's cool. So I was happy.
What was that pen that you did the edges with?
I'll pass that around. Combo. And it comes in, 100 different shades. And I love it when it's very pale because anybody can have a dark marker. But, and it's the stump variety and it has like a tiny end and then a bigger end.
There's a light.
You know, the only light fastness that I've had a problem with is Ecoline watercolor ink. Because I've tried that pen and ink with the Ecoline and trying to outline things. And after a few weeks in the sun, because every now and then something's got to have to hang outside on my tent, beams of sun on it, I was like, I don't like the way that's turning. So then I took that painting down and went over it with an Arteza marker and it wasn't an issue. But that's, I have a feeling if I use this over Daniel Smith's light fastness will keep this light fast also. Because I've never noticed any problem with my watercolors. The only time things will turn funny is the occasional matte, if it's not a real good matte. I like to get golden from on Amazon because, you know, they're affordable and they're archival too. But a lot of the mattes that come with a frame, don't always trust those. Don't always trust those. As far as my frames go, that I have a frame addiction. I need to get into a 12-step program for that. I did purge about 100 frames at my art club in Elgin. We do a garage sale every year of art material, and that's cool. So I got rid of a lot, so which is good. I get most of my frames from Kohl's online, and which is online. I've never even scrolled to the bottom. There's that many frames on there. And if you have a Kohl's charge and then you get the coupon, I get a 40% off coupon at least once a month because I buy a lot from them. And then, you know, you accrue your rewards dollars. I mean, it's cheaper than Goodwill. The little wooden kind of, yeah, those little frames right there. There, these little guys right here are an awesome frame. They just came back in stock. I was getting very nervous because they weren't around. It's a 5x7 opening, and then it can fit a 4x6 mat in there.
That's Kohl's.
This is Kohl's. And online, you're not gonna find these in the stores. They also come in 4x smaller, size smaller, one size bigger, 8x10. They come in teal, slate gray, blue, and then the cute little off-white. And I buy about 36 of them at a time. And I have stock, I have shelves in my basement where I keep all my stock, so I know what I have at a glance. Michael's, get some nice frames from Michael's. And I try to stay away from Hobby Lobby, especially although I like some, the wood ones are all right. Try to avoid the composite plastic fluff ones. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I'm forced, like the hydrangeas are in there, but I'll probably change that frame out. I also enjoy the photo frames where you're supposed to put like free photos in there, because I think of them as like a little fence. And it's really hard to find strongly rectangular frames without having them made. And with my price point, I keep my framing costs at a minimum. So it's like, it hurts my soul to know that my frame costs more than my painting does, you know, so I don't want to do that. So in the case of these guys over here, and I hate cutting mats, by the way, I hate both cutting mats. So this was one of those 3 opening frames, but I like to compose the succulents kind of in a long vista, kind of like a landscape. So I did get I do have the really big Logan mat cutter. I have no excuse. And I cut the bars off that separated the openings. And it was a little raggedy, but put a succulent over it. No one will know. So that's our little secret.
Usually about 10:30.
Okay, sure.
So we're gonna take a little bit of break, guys. like a 5-minute break.
I'll
and
put all
then
my
come
lids
right
back on.
And then have lids back on.
Okay.
Yes, that's in bed.
Solution.
Who's got the masking fluid?
I should
on?
put the lid on it. Ah, thank you. Yeah. So, I mean,
Will that keep getting darker and the longer it sits there? Or?
this, the tissue, yeah. That's why I kind of let the, all the pigment dry into the paper. I think I'm gonna leave it covered like this to get it home. But then I want to put it in my drying rack, because it is wet. Very wet. Here I am. It's like down here. Yeah, I found this dry, I was looking on, I know, yeah. Yeah, it does. So I was looking online for a drying rack and they're really expensive. So,
If you can find, used red wall.
yeah. Oh, that's cool.
It works well.
What I found was these plastic grid, that metal, plasticized metal grid. You're supposed to put 4 of them together with these connectors and make little cubes for storage and things. And somebody gave up on that because I can understand why. And I bought all the little, the grid pieces. And so I had those, I'm like, okay, but I still had things draped all over my basement. So I went back on Amazon and pizza parlors have this wall hanging rack that they put the pizza pies on in their little metal pan. My little grid rack on that. So it was $50 and it holds, I don't know, 20 paintings. And I found some other like shoe racky type things similar to that bread dealio and I put some there. So I have my nice little drying corner, which is near the dehumidifier, thankfully. It works. Yeah, so what other, do you guys have any other questions?
How do you cut these?
How do I cut those? I got my dang scissors. It's they're Fiskars and they're small orange handled and they're just the teeniest little tips. They're about 1.5 inches long. I buy a new pair every 6 months or so and I have a whole bunch extras that are, every now and then I'll help a high school art club kind of thing. So it's nice to have a few extra supplies hanging around. So we were going to do this fall leaf thing once at my daughter's art club at East Campus. And so I had it all set out and everybody had everything they needed. And one little boy was like, can I do a superhero engulfed in flames? I'm like, okay. And then the girl was like, I'll do chimpanzee with a ponytail. So it's like, okay, here's some stuff, just play with it.
So you don't use it.
No, the only time I use an X-Acto is if I have to dig out, and it's rare. We have to, something that I need to make a hole in. But I don't like X-Actos. It's like a whole body movement, whereas the Fiskars are, they got the spring in them. And so that helps the old knuckles. And, it's not your hand that hurts at the end of the day, it's your elbow, because that's where all these tendons attach. So that's where I put the CBD cream right here. Oh, I don't know if you guys have ever seen these things. They have them at Chief Joe's just sends them to me as like a little gift with purchase. It's like a Mr. Clean eraser for your mat. If you get a little, trying to keep a white mat is really hard when you're collaging over it. So just a teensy bit of water on here and you just touch it to the paper and it works. And then you take a nice dry paper towel and you really kind of get the moisture out of there. But I got a ton of these if anybody wants one. They're like it. They're not as intense. They're not as yeah, but it's I think it's the same idea. But if you want, I will share some with you. And let's see. What else? Yes, trying to keep a white mat white is virtually impossible. And my work doesn't photograph well because of the dimensional quality. If I could make prints, my life would be so much easier. But I only sell originals because you're losing the idea. So what I do is I can make, here's some, I can. I make small prints that you don't really notice that it's, you know, not the same. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
And then that's what I make into my greeting cards. And every year I make a new set of greeting cards. And I can also make these little kind of gift bag things. And this cellophane bag keeps them from scratching all together when I put them in a tote. So half of it's for gift and the other half is because it keeps the frame from getting all scraped up. I get those frames from Amazon. When you buy in bulk, you know, they're just a $1.50 a piece or something like
Where
that.
do you get your cards made?
I make them. I buy the blanks. Michael's Pro Packs is a great way to get a lot of stuff cheap. I have some frames that are Pro Packs. There's a little golden poppy that was floating around here somewhere.
So you buy like a card
Oh.
set, like.
I buy a gross of 12 packs that are 50 cards in each pack, and I buy about 6-8 boxes of those. I make about 400 to 500 packages of these cards every winter. Takes the week. So
Print them yourself.
I use Minuteman Press in Crystal Lake. They have all my work on their computer.
Oh, they're good.
And they're cute and they're young, and so they're not crabby and like some other places. Yeah.
Oh.
Remember when he had parrots on his shoulder?
Oh, yeah.
And then turning around, I had a pretty strong stomach, but I wasn't expecting that on his black lab coat. I was like,
Yes,
oh.
yeah.
But
Online ask, can you explain her assembly process
of the
of the adhesives that you
Oh,
use?
yeah. That's it. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, this is something I also get from Amazon. They are U-glue dashes. And they're a double sticky adhesive tab. And super duper sticky. I can cut them in half. I can cut them in little slivers because that's how I attach all the stems to things. And They're- yeah, they're archival, acid-free. You can buy them at Hobby Lobby too, in a package that says they're strong enough to hang tile with, but okay. U-glue dashes, U-G-L-U. And you can buy them, you know, pack of 50 or 60 or whatever. I buy them by the, I don't know, was it 500 or 1,000? I love those things. And I take my paintings all over the country and I haven't lost a blossom yet. I mean, they stay on. But if you wanted to rework a painting, and if anything hasn't sold within a year, I have to figure there's something, I got to freshen it up somehow. So since this 300-pound paper is so stiff, I can peel it up a little bit and then take an X-Acto and kind of skin it off kind of. And then you can peel the adhesive back off the paper because it's pretty durable. So your thumbnail gets really sore by the end of the day doing that, but then I can redo it, maybe put a couple of different paintings together. But those are pretty invaluable.
So would it be strong enough to hold like a full sheet of paper if you're floating your paper?
And it's going to be under glass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would do
There's
it.
so many double stick paper.
Oh,
acid free, they come
Yes.
apart after a while.
Yeah, I don't like that
To
either.
let your work.
Yes, they do. Okay, we're on the truss tree here. I use masking tape. It stays. And someday, Antiques Roadshow can yell at me or something because, oh, look, she put masking tape on the back, but I hate it. All my paintings that I've done like that for my own private collection have slipped, pictures of my kids and things like that. Yeah. So I don't use that stuff. Those guys, well, they're some sort of acid archivalness. If you look on the package that comes from Hobby Lobby, they will say it on there.
Okay.
This is more for,
Lobby or Amazon.
I get them mainly on Amazon, but sometimes if I run out and I need it super fast, I'll go to Hobby Lobby. They're also Oasis, the floral people.
Oh, yeah.
What do they do with those? I don't know. Do they stick bows on vases or something? I'm not even sure. But that's
Yeah. But I know that they.
Yeah.
So Liz, after you
Mhm.
cut out your flowers,
Yeah.
leaves and stems, do you arrange it first before you obviously tape it down to make sure you've got a
Yes.
pleasing?
Yeah, and I kind of know if I want to be horizontal or vertical. I try to count how many blossoms I need for an area. Can I get 3 paintings out of it? Can I do 2? Never have enough stems, always making stems. So what I'll do with my this is I'll just make 1,000 little lines and then put a bunch of green over it and then pull it off. And then this is how I make all my stems. Lots of them. In the summertime, I like to have a lot of floral components, especially these little guys, some daisies and the leaves and the stems and the lavender and coneflower and black-eyed Susans. And I'll have a whole like shoebox of them. And so when I'm at shows, I can put little things together like that and just show people the process, because they're always assuming I, cut them out of a book or something. I'm like, no, hands make them. And so it's really, I like to engage them in what I'm doing. So that's why I painted art shows. Plus I just can't sit there and I'm not going to sit in the sun. So I sit in the shady corner of my tent and work. Yeah. And so yeah, so my cards, I fold them, affix there's 8 different ones in each package. And I make a new set every year. And yeah, so then I bought from Uline a heat sealer that I have this sealing, I have a cellophane sleeve, and then a chunk. It seals them and cuts them. And I feel so like Macho Factory when I do that. And it keeps them clean and not be in bed. Yeah, you could do that. That takes time. This, I slip it in the sleeve and I heat seal it, and it doesn't bust out,
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty sturdy, and it comes in like a mile. This roll is huge. I put it on a paper towel holder and pull it through there. And then I put a ribbon and a card. And same thing with my prints. And I also make a lot of bookmarks from leftover paint that's on my, I have a whole container of just stuff like this, just cool colors and things. I'm not going to throw it out. So I save it. And then once a year I make about 500 bookmarks. You guys can all take one home. And I've had people, however, mine all the blues and purples out. So we're left with greens and oranges. Yeah, and then I laminate those. I have a laminator that I bought at Aldi, believe it or not. It's still going strong. It's like 10 years old. And then I buy the sheets on Amazon. You know what, Amazon, I know, but I know I gotta, yeah.
You bought a lot of stuff.
I buy a lot of,
all over,
yeah, it's my little factory down there. This is my store and I build it every weekend. So I have all different price points from a couple dollars up to like $800. I also like making pairs of paintings because a lot of these big houses like big art, and under glass you can only go so big without getting really heavy. So so I make 2 really big ones, then that takes up the kind of space on the wall. So yeah, that's the fun part about collaging. No, because they're all originals. So I'd have to be on my computer. Every time I open that thing, there goes half an hour. It's like, that's why Facebook is so easy. Bing, 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 done. Yeah, and my Etsy store is every weekend all summer long. I do all the northern suburbs and western suburbs. But yeah, so this has been pretty fun and profitable, and I meet really awesome people all weekend long, and I don't know a lot of painters because they always stick me with jewelers and potters and photographers. So everybody's like, this kind of like, no, not really. But is there any questions? I know I'm just rambling on.
On Facebook, you sell through Facebook?
Well, I post a pay. If somebody wants it, then we talk. Yeah.
So then you have to mail it.
Yeah.
Or you meet at Starbucks.
Or you meet at Starbucks or Panera. That's a good one too. Yes, I have met somebody at Starbucks. Was it you? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
Facebook out everywhere.
Yeah, I boost in a 50-mile radius to where I'm going to be. Like I'll do one for out west when I go, and I'll do one for Tennessee, Four Bridges. I love that show. And then I do this crazy show in Connecticut. It's the worst craft show. There's like American Girl doll clothes and like embroidered dog collars, but there's a little fine art wing in this. It's on the ocean. I mean, it's gorgeous. Niantic, Connecticut is beautiful. And man, it's my best show every year almost. And they buy the big art there. So I think they send it to their Florida houses. You can't judge a show really by, you got to do it and see. And yeah, so it's very fun, and I really. Oh, these are crotons. Yes, thank you. So this is another one that I've kind of done with the bleeding art tissue. You can use the darker and the brushes in here, and then you know, what I do to make the masking line a little thicker is I have these rubbery brushes that I think they're ceramic tools. I don't know. I get them at Hobby Lobby, and you can take it and you can spread it out a little thicker. Otherwise, you have to use a paintbrush, and you know, you have to give it up to the mask because you'll never get it back again. So then after this is midway between finishing them. And then when I'm all done, I get these awesome croton leaves. And I'll add them to tropicals and things, and it just makes a nice fun display. I like to frame tropicals in like a dark walnut. So yeah, and here's the paler ones. And so yeah, another one I like to do is hellebores. They're so much fun. They're a little for the most part, a 5-petal flower that blooms really early in the springtime. Comes in so many different colors because they interbreed kind of. So there's the purples and the oranges and pinks, and I love the greeny ones. And so what I've learned to do now to control things a little more is I used to put all the different colors on one page, and like I said, sometimes the purples and the greens make a kind of an odd color. So I try to, like, this will be the purple family, and then I'll have the red family, and then the green family. So, and these are the little things that I work on all summer when I'm in my tent, and I'll add a little fresh color with watercolor to the edges. These green ones frequently have red outlining to them because this is hellebores. Look, I'm visual aid. And there's the doubles. And also, oh my God.
That's right.
And now, and then there's the corals, and they, like I say, they become so many different shades, and they're so dark, and yeah, gorgeous. And they have a pretty little center. And what I use for the center is nickel titanate yellow, because it's very chalky. So that it's not sheer whatsoever. So that's how I kind of get that yellow over all the other brighter colors. Yeah, so I always have a lot of half-done paintings, and that's the best part about watercolor, right? Because you can just come back later.
Anybody online have any questions, guys? Just unmute yourself and ask. Same thing with you guys. Just go ahead and ask.
Do you have, like in your studio, do you have a painting section, a gluing section,
Well, my
my
workspace is smaller than this.
cutting?
Wow. It's just a little, it's like one of these. And then I have a drafting table. That's the framing area. That I need a little more space. It's a flat drafting table. I work pretty small, but I can make big paintings because the components are smaller. So I manage in there. I should have sent you a picture of what that looks like. Very interesting. Washer and dryer right there. Wherever. Yeah, and 3 cat boxes, because you can never remove one once the cat has met its maker. You still have to keep all three for the remaining cat, otherwise they get very confused. So, yeah, I know. Wherever there's air, there's something there. There's a shelf hanging. I have, my rafters are about just a few inches over my head, and I can take these grid baskets and shove them up in there into the rafters, and that's where I keep a lot of supplies, and so everything is like within a few inches, and that's the way I like it. I would hate to go way over there to get by this thing or that thing or the picture wire or something.
So,
Right there.
Here, another question.
Mhm.
So, do you do painting on a day and you're cutting on a different time? Do you segment your working
Yeah.
process?
A lot of, yeah, people always ask you how long it takes to do a painting, and it's never complete in a day. So there's a lot of stop and start, or I'll make extras for later. Like when I did these hellebores, I did twice as many as this, and so I ran out of steam because, as much as I love these guys, by the time you're up to 200, you're like, okay, I'm gonna move on to something else now. So I have a bin of half-done paintings. I have a bin of cut up half-done paintings. And then I have my bin of just cool paper with cool paint on it for backgrounds and things. And for the most part, I complete the process, over several days. The succulents took me a good 10 days or so to paint. A number of days to cut them out, and I'm composing them one at a time. Sometimes what I'll do is have them all kind of mocked up, and then look, wait, that one has 4 reds and that one only has 3 reds, and then I'll try to, but I was like, I wanted to get ready for this presentation. Like, I'm gonna put you on hold right now, succulents.
When did you transition from doing
other,
like just from traditional painting?
Yeah.
Like you did at school at U of I,
yeah.
to doing something that's an assembling of various work and talent? When did you?
The funny thing is, it was a natural progression, because I had painted watercolors like I was supposed to, and it was, like I say, it was really nice, but I just got such a kick out of doing it this way. And then I decided I needed another flower in the middle of something, so then I added another one, and then I just started putting them all together. And I used to paint one whole painting for the background, and the second painting I would cut up and put it in there, but then I was covering up some cool parts of the other one, of the main one. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna paint them all, cut them up, and make a background, and that way I'm not covering up any cool parts that I don't want to. Every now and then a part's not cool, you can cover that up, So yeah, it progressed. And it happened when I took that watercolor class at MCC, because it was more experimental, and nobody said, oh, you've got to do it this way. She's a pretty laid back teacher. Diane Wilson by any chance?
I think I know her name.
Yeah, I don't think she paints anymore. She has a farm now, and she loves her donkeys and stuff. But yeah, so it was just a really good start. And I have made every mistake in the book, that's for sure. And you got to learn from them. Don't be afraid to make them, because you're gonna do it. And I always tell people, never throw out anything you think, oh, it's gross, I'm gonna keep everything, because you can always rework it, or if nothing else, it's a bookmark, cut it up and laminate it. So yeah, I get a lot of frustrated artists. I swear I'm like art therapist lady in my tent, because you're a captive audience, Yeah. Don't really have an Instagram. I think my kids know one, but I don't know really how to use it. What? I do? Oh, I have to call them up. I have to shoot them up Benjamin every now and then to get him to help me with my website. Oh, I'm so low tech. That's the hard part, because you really need to have a foot in both worlds, and I'm not that. Facebook, yeah, I can do that, but now most everybody's not in Facebook. No, that's not me. Or watercolor. It wasn't me.
Any last questions, guys?
I
Yeah.
do have a question. I
Sure.
apologize. I had stepped away for a couple of minutes. I don't know if you'd covered this, but I saw like when you were using your masking fluid
Mhm.
to create the exterior of some of your flowers.
Yep.
So when you cut that flower, are you cutting that flower out along that white line or
Yes, so like this is a larger example right here because I put it on pretty thick. This was the masking solution
okay,
on a colored
I see.
background. This was bleeding art tissue and brush show. So then I will pull off the masking solution and add fresh color in there, then outline it and then cut on the outline and then paint the edge, apply color to the edge. I missed that spot.
Okay, great. Thank
Second
you.
better one.
That explains it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But do you see anybody doing this when you're out in?
No. Oh, and I tell people exactly how I do it, and these are my tools and everything, but you know, it's fine.
I know we have somebody online, Susan McFarland, who does something.
Yeah,
really close.
just see that work. Yeah, like
But she just does
Susan's work.
collages of.
Yeah.
just old
Stuff.
paintings that she does.
Yeah.
Like,
That's neat.
She teaches, she had taught in Deerfield.
Oh, cool.
McFarland.
Yeah, what was your question about? The tissue?
Yeah,
It's strong.
yeah,
It's
where is it? Where's the one you did?
it's right here. It's a little drippy. Here,
So
look
you're,
at that.
it's not ready to take apart.
No, but I have to get it home eventually. No, the overnight. It'll yeah. I will take this off. I'm just doing this so I don't like yeah, or mess other things up. And I'll put that on my pizza drying rack downstairs.
And will that be the background or will that?
These are gonna be the copies that you took the paper off of.
The layers.
Yeah, these guys. Yeah,
Dimensional. So you'll.
Yeah, I'll
those out.
I'll cut these all out. And I'll have stems in a background, they're little funny poppy pods. And here's one of the flowers that's all detailed. Yep, and then,
You reuse that tissue or?
no, it's dead. I suppose you could, why bother? The tissue is cheap and it'll last you forever. It will. And I just run out of green sometimes, but so that's why I made that hydrangea. That background was mainly tissue pigment because I have so much aqua and green and stuff. So sorry.
Okay.
So much aqua and green. I thought, well, I can try to put it in hydrangea.
Get that tissue online also, or?
You can, yeah. Make sure you get bleeding art tissue as opposed to gift wrap tissue. And
And where do you get the tissue at?
I buy it at Blick if I'm in
Okay, so
Schaumburg.
is it-
Yeah, but it's just. Hello, Amazon.
Where is, what is it called?
Spectra bleeding art tissue. And all you have to put in is bleeding art tissue. There's tons.
So
Other
each
brands too.
package has a different color?
You can get cool colors or warm colors, but for the most part, they're all, it's a mix. Yeah, here. This is the half sheets. They also come in bigger full sheets. So this is all of them. And for some reason, there's white. Someday somebody can explain to me why there's white in here. Blues, purples. I love the greens, the brown and the black. Yes, all the time. They're hanging around some, over here.
Yeah, that list.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, these were various greens mixed with watercolor paints, brusho, and I just love the way that the pigment flows to the edge, to the margin.
Green tissue.
Let's see, this was light green or dark green and blue, something in green and black, These are more of the juicier yellowy
Just
greens.
widen up different ones, different sizes and put them on top of each other.
Yeah, I'm just like, well, what do these three colors look or like together? And that's what this is. I don't know what the,
Color,
yeah.
you get passed up.
maybe that's it. Yeah, I guess. I don't know, I save it for actual gift wrap tissue. But yeah, so. It's fun. And like I say, you know, you gotta, if you scrub, your hands will come off. It stays under your nails for a little while. And I can't work with, no, I get sweaty when I wear those. I would be a bad nurse. I'd be sweating on
Look like a
it.
surgeon, look like a surgeon.
Yes, open heart.
I'm sorry, Liz, how long did you leave is that plexi on top of the orange stuff?
Yeah, I'm leaving this on just so I can get it home without setting something on it. But
Oh,
when I get home, I'm gonna take it off and it's gonna be a big mess. And then I'm just gonna let it dry on a rack
so is there like a time that you usually,
overnight.
Okay.
Until it feels dry enough to where you think all the pigment's
When
gone.
it comes out like that. right?
And then it comes out like this, or
Got
like,
it.
yeah, like here, then it falls off. And then there you go.
great,
And
thank you.
I think I made contact with everything too. Every now and then there's a white spot, but you know what, some paint on it. Yeah.
Any other questions, guys? Before we let her go?
You guys can, I made some leaves here if you wanted to try the brush show yourself. Up to you. I know people were very interested in the brush show and it's very fun. I also make my gift bags with it. I missed them. They're white paper bags. I missed it and sprinkle and tie my card on it with a little bow. And
Can we see the greeting cards or just come up and see?
there's a package that I have an open pack that shows what's all in there. Oh, there's 8 different designs and it's floating around here somewhere. We'll find it. Well, I also do. I
Does
still
anybody
come-
wants to ask questions before we let her go? And you can come up and ask yourself.
Yeah, and you guys can take a bookmark.
Anybody online want to ask the last question before we let her go?
You guys, we can save a bookmark for you, online people.
All right, guys, we're gonna let you guys go. We're gonna stop filming, so thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. It was enjoyable. Like if I had to talk about.
you.
Financial banking services or something, I wouldn't know what to say, but I can talk about. Thank
you.
You're very welcome.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
Good. Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Leave.
Oh, dear. Okay. Gotta